I'm 29 years old and I have no sense of direction as to where my life is going, and I want to talk about it because obviously it's been really heavy on my mind and it's starting to affect my mental health. So let's talk about it. Over the last year, I think I've gotten better at sharing my life and keeping my viewers updated as to where I'm at in life. And I've always been very open as to how I feel and how I'm emotionally processing the transitions in my life or whatever I'm going through at the moment. So from where we left off, I was actively looking for a job to go back to work. Girl, I start rambling here, so let me tell you the summary of what I was trying to say. In August of 2023, when I was 12 weeks pregnant with my second baby, the company that I had worked for almost 6 years had a massive layoff, and I was one of the thousands of employees that was impacted. I feel like the way that the layoff happened during the time that it did was very cosmic. There were a lot of things that aligned perfectly for me to feel like it was best for me to stay home, because we had also started the conversation of me staying at home with the kids and working on content creation going forward when we found out that we were having our second baby. So in my head, my vision was,
I'm going to stay at home until my channel pops off, and I'm going to be a full-time content creator, and I'm going to be available for my family whenever I want, because that'll mean that I will have flexibility in my schedule.
That was the intention, and I really went hard with the content when I was pregnant once I got laid off, because I was posting shorts every day for months on end. I hit my subscriber milestone that I had set for myself. Guys, I just hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. It's my baby. I wanted to document this moment because it's huge. I've been on YouTube for almost 10 years and I never really truly allowed myself to be seen until this last year. Once I got laid off, I decided to pursue YouTube full time, and we're here now. I'm here with my 3-month-old watching Bridgerton for the first time. And I feel so proud of myself because I feel like it's the first thing that I did for myself that where I am telling myself that you do deserve to be seen, and the things that you enjoy do matter, and it doesn't have to be the same story for everyone. And I can't believe it. But I wasn't able to get the channel monetized. It was really hard to be pregnant and be the mom of a toddler. I felt like I was just ready to pop my baby out and go back to work because it was just so much here at home. I feel like at the end there, I was really feeling like I wasn't doing enough for my family because yes, I was a stay-at-home mom, but my channel wasn't monetized yet. Not only was I not feeling like I was doing enough at home, but I also felt like I had gone into desperation mode with my creativity instead of fully surrendering and letting inspiration hit me. I felt like I was almost just posting to post and hit my monetization requirements before I went into labor with Jonah. I've worked my entire life and I didn't know anything besides work. I also never fully surrendered to having my husband take care of me, and he still hadn't because I was still using my severance. I did end up cashing out my 401k. And I was on unemployment. Technically, we never really went without my income up until a couple of months ago. And a couple of months ago, I decided to find a job, and I did. I think that I was kind of running away from being a stay-at-home mom because it was so hard when it was just me and Jude. Even with all of the help that I received, it was just so difficult. I think once I had Jonah, that's when I started to realize that I could do this. I could take care of the kids here at home, and I love taking care of my family. I love taking care of everything that they need. I enjoy cooking. I enjoy cleaning. The only thing with that is despite taking care of my family, I wasn't feeling fulfilled. I was just ready to be more than mom, to have some sort of mind stimulation outside of what the household has for me. And yes, I still wanted to make content, but I think I was also kind of feeling discouraged because I had not monetize my channel within the time frame that I wanted. And then realistically and logistically talking about things, I was going to be running out of my unemployment benefits soon. So I wanted to make sure that we didn't feel any sort of financial impact if I didn't go back to work. So in my head, it was a win-win situation. I was going to get the mental stimulation and the space that I needed from my home while bringing in money and making sure that we stayed with the lifestyle that we're used to living and we weren't feeling such a financial impact. The only thing is that this time around, I'm a mom. If you knew me before I became a mom, you knew that I was the one who didn't mind working overtime. I was the one who didn't really care about schedules, or I didn't need a lot from an employer before my kids. But now I was going into the workforce knowing that my kids come first, because they do. My kids and my family are coming first. I think I'm very privileged to even be able to think like this, because I know that if I don't like a job, my husband is willing to make up the income with his own job and work overtime so that I don't have to stay somewhere that I don't like or that does not align with the values that I have set for my family. I think that when I started looking for a job, I really started in an abundance mindset. I really was going in confidently, knowing damn well that I was the prize and that I can have any job that I wanted. Sure enough, I had somebody reach out to me about the first job that I ended up getting. It wasn't posted anywhere. She actually let me know directly. It was a really good job working in an office for attorneys. The benefits were good. When I did the interview, I was able to negotiate salary. I was able to negotiate my schedule to an extent. I was going to have my own office. The office I was going to get was going to have an amazing view. And then I was also able to negotiate my start date, which was a month from when they offered me the position. These are things that I negotiated, but I was flexible with. My salary, they offered me $5,000 less than what I had requested, and then they were able to wiggle a little bit with my start time on my schedule. And the reason that I requested a different schedule was because I wanted to make sure that I was home for bedtime with my kids. And then the start date I negotiated later because I also wanted to give us more time as a family to adjust to what my potential work schedule would look like. And then we needed to figure out childcare for Jonah as well, because we don't have him in daycare yet and we're still hesitant about starting him so young. So I was very conscious of what I wanted when I accepted this job, and I was very happy because I just felt like, hell yeah, like of course I'm gonna get this job because it's me. I'm a hard worker. I deserve this job, and there are employers out there that are willing to help me be a mom, or be the mom that I want to be, but also pay me. So I accepted the job and I went one day, and I realized when I got home that it was not the job for me. The first thing that showed me that it wasn't the job for me was when I had interviewed for the job, they had shown me where my office was going to be, and all of the offices along that row, they had windows that were facing the freeway, and it was just a beautiful view. And I was just so excited about the window. And I told Ricardo when I left, I was like, I'm gonna get plants. Like, I've never had an office of my own, for one, but I also can't believe that I'm going to be able to bring plants and just like bring a little bit of me to this job. And I was really excited about that. And it wasn't until I think I signed my acceptance letter that I realized that the salary I had requested was not the salary that was documented on the form. Now, I could have said something, but I didn't. I felt like at that point I had already asked for too much and I was too scared to ask about it again. So I didn't bring it up and I was just like, okay, whatever. The work was fine. The people were fine. The environment was fine aside from the office. So when I actually got walked to my office was the only one without a window. And for me, that did not sit well. It was almost like the universe was telling me like,
are you gonna accept that?
And I know it seems like something small, but I think I'm learning how to set boundaries with the universe and with God, and like really trying to say things with my chest when I'm asking for something and when I'm praying for something. But I just brushed it off. It was when I got home that I realized that maybe I had returned to work too soon because it was chaos. For me, it was the sense of catch up that I was playing as soon as I got home. And I just thought to myself, this is what it's going to be like if I'm working a 9 to 5 every single day. I feel like I'm almost trying to justify why I left, because when I got the job, everybody was like, wow, like this is such a good job for you, and it's for an attorney and they're going to be paying you so well.
But this has happened to me before.
I remember when I got a job at Nusenda, the credit union, everybody was so proud of me. I was working at McDonald's at the time too, and like some of the ladies that I worked with were also so proud of me. And I think that a lot of times you're stuck with that job because people think good benefits and they think that that's enough. And I am not like that. And again, that comes from a very privileged state, right? Because I am able to try different jobs. I come from a family of immigrants who are very limited sometimes with their job choices, but I am not. I can't sit here and pretend like their comments of,
this is a really good job, make sure you don't mess it up,
don't get to me, because I do think of that. But at the same time, I feel like it's reinforced this limited belief in me that this is all that I can do for myself. Because realistically, the job that I was going to be doing for the attorney, it's not like I was going to be an attorney. I was basically doing like a call center job, but for a lawyer. Yes, maybe it would have opened different doors within that field, but I've never really wanted to be in that field, or else I think that I would be in that field. But because I have these opinions in my head when I'm weighing out the options of like, is this a good job or it's not, I think that it was harder for me to make the decision, which didn't take very long, but it was harder for me to make the decision because I could only hear those voices in my head about like, this is a really good job, almost like saying, and maybe this is my own projection or insecurity of my worth when it comes to employment, but it was almost like, this is as good as it's gonna get for you, so make sure you don't lose it. But again, my girl wakes up sick the next day again, and I'm just like, I'm gonna have to leave. And I know with whatever job, the kids are gonna get sick. They're going to get sick, and I'm going to have to work sometimes, and I get that. But in that moment, and I think too, just like seeing what a transition it was for not just Ricardo, but for the kids of me being gone when I'm always home, I just couldn't do it, and it just did not feel right with me. And in my head, I started to think, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And as much as it's good, it just wasn't good for me. And it wasn't good for me at that time. And maybe had I waited a little longer till Jonah was a little older, and maybe we had practiced more days where Ricardo was with the kids alone or something like that. And even me, like the distance from not just leaving one baby, now it's 2 babies, plus my husband, who I want to make sure his mental health is also taken care of. It just wasn't right for me at the moment. And as grateful as I was for the opportunity, I'm grateful that I left. So I end up leaving this job, and I am still in this headspace that I need to make money for my family, and I cannot let Ricardo take on this financial burden by himself. I think it's very clear now, and Ricardo can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. He wants me to be a stay-at-home mom, and he wants me to focus on my content because he always tells me he just wants me to be happy, and he knows that making content is what makes me happy. He's always said,
you don't have to go back to work, I can work overtime.
Great. I am so blessed and so fortunate in that way that he supports me and my content to that degree, but I don't want him to have to work overtime. I don't want him to overexert himself when I am 100% capable of bringing in money too. And that was my headspace. And so I continued to apply to jobs, and I finally decided to go with a company that was a call center, and it was also a company that someone I'm really close to works for. Here's the thing, I feel like I don't have direction. That's what this whole video is about, right? And I think that in that moment, it served me as a win because I didn't care where I worked. I didn't care what I was doing as long as it was bringing in the money that I wanted, that I enjoyed the job, and that I could work from home, and that it was going to benefit my family. And this schedule was in the afternoon, so in my head, I was like, perfect. When Ricardo's not here, when he's on shift, I will be available to my kids all morning, and then my mom just happened to get off 15 minutes before I would start this schedule, and she could help me on the days that I need help if I need help. And then I will take my lunch during the time that I would typically put the kids to bed. They'd go to bed, hopefully they'd sleep for the rest of the night, and I can finish off my schedule, and that's that. The plan was to work while they slept. And the training was 7 to 8 weeks in office, and then eventually once you completed training, you would be able to work from home 100% remote. Ricardo and I really sat down and we were like, okay, well, if this is what you want to do, then we have to commit, and we're gonna have to find childcare, and we'll make it work. And we did, and I really enjoyed the job. And not only that, but I got to meet some amazing people. It was just nice to have a job, be a working mom again, have adult conversations outside of my home, and then make money. And it was all working fine. The schedule that I was working during training was 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and we were able to make that work. Once I finished training, I got sent home and I started my hiring schedule about a few days after I had got sent home, which was 3 p.m. to midnight. Obviously, you're going to have growing pains because one, I've always been a morning person and I very rarely worked nights, and when I did, it was before I had kids. But again, I thought that this was the perfect solution because I would be available to my family for the whole day, and then they wouldn't have to miss me too much. When I started working, I noticed that my lunch was not falling at the time that I needed to put the kids down for bed. So I asked if they could please help me change my lunch. They could make it the same every single day, so at least I'd know when I could put the kids down and when I needed an extra hand, or if they could just change my schedule to start at 2 instead of 3 so that my lunch would fall around the times that I needed whenever I wanted to put the kids down for bed. Both of my schedule change requests got declined, and I was like,
okay, that's okay. I will use my PTO
or low need. And low need for that company is basically exactly what it sounds like. It's when they need less representatives taking calls, you can use it and take time off without getting paid. But I was like, okay, I'll just take PTO or low need when Ricardo's gone to put the kids to bed so that I don't have to have my mom or my mother-in-law stay and help me put the kids to bed. They can just stay with them until I get that time off and I can put them down for bed, because me being there present for their bedtime is important to me. So that's what I was doing. I was taking low need. I would literally check low need every single time I would clock into work and see if it was available, and I would take as much as I could to make sure I was there with the kids. And then if there wasn't any, I would request PTO. I learned after that I wasn't even supposed to be taking PTO because I didn't qualify for it yet. I learned about that and I still continued to do it because there was no other way around me being able to put the kids down, and I just prayed that whenever they would review my time card that they wouldn't catch that I was using PTO that I wasn't supposed to be using, and they didn't. But it just started to get too hard. I was going to bed at 12 and then my kids wake up at 6:30, and I was trying to get enough rest, make sure I went to the gym, and then I was also losing out on going to sleep at the same time as Ricardo, which I already do because he's a firefighter and he's not here for 2 nights. And that was hard on us. I was tired all of the time because I am somebody who likes to be in bed no later than 10 p.m. if I have a choice. My kids are little. I think there was 1 or maybe 2 times that I had to clock out of my shift early because Jude needed help with her sleep. She needed me to go help her go back to sleep. I think Jonah was sick a couple times, teething a couple of times, and he would start crying. I was very on edge throughout my shift when Ricardo wasn't here because I was working and I had their baby monitor. I didn't feel like I could be fully available to them if I needed to. I mean, of course, if anything, I'd just clock out, but I just didn't like that feeling of just like being on edge until I was able to clock out. And another thing is that this company was very, very strict about what you could do on your downtime, and you were being recorded 24/7 with a camera. You were not allowed to have electronics unless it was a TV with captions only, no volume. I could not have my phone. I did have my phone, but you were not supposed to have your phone. This was also a paperless company, so during downtime I couldn't like color or do the bills or anything like that. I started doing puzzles because that was the only thing that I could think of doing to keep me awake as well. It was very clearly starting to build up. Ricardo really didn't like how strict they were about certain things, and I just thought it was ridiculous that they couldn't help me with my schedule because I've worked at a call center before and there's so many employees. You're telling me, because after they rejected my change of lunch hour and my shift starting an hour before, I asked them if they had anything that would make me available to put my kids down for bed, and they told me they had nothing. I even asked for part-time schedules and they told me they had nothing. I will say that they did say at the beginning that you have to stay with your schedule once you're hired for 6 months, and I was very well aware of that, but I was hoping that they would be more flexible with me. I just like could not believe that they didn't have one schedule that they could offer me. I was willing to do split shifts, anything, because it was important for me to be there for my kids when they go to sleep. That's important to me. And I keep saying that because I really had to weigh my options here as well, because at this point, if I left the job, there was gonna be no income anymore. I didn't have a backup plan. Like I was telling Ricardo, this is important to me and this is a boundary that I'm setting. I honestly, truly believe that I had to work this job to learn what I did not want in the future from future employers. So even though I decided to leave that company, I still feel like it was the right decision for me to try. While doing that job, I also realized how much more comfortable I had gotten with being a stay-at-home mom. I guess within realizing all of the things that I don't want, I'm starting to get a little bit more clear of what I do want. But the thing is that I don't know what I want to do. Does that make sense? Like I know what I don't want, but I also don't know what I want to do. And that's where we're at now. I've said it a million times that I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom, but I think it's become very apparent that if I want to continue to pursue content creation, that I need to surrender and I need to really give it a shot. I've told this to Ricardo a million times. My priorities have changed so much, understandably so, right? Because I have kids now. And I am not going to work for a company or work myself to the ground if that means that it's not going to make me available to my children. And right now it's seeming to be a little more difficult to find that, especially because I don't have a degree. And I really try not to get into my head about that because everybody tells me that it's not as important as I'm making it in my head, but I've been conditioned to believe that if you want a good job, you go to school and you get a career from it. That's what I grew up seeing. It was either that, like you go to school, you get a good job, and that's it. Or you work your ass off just to pay the bills. And here I am in my position where my husband is willing to pay for my living expenses, which I should not feel guilty about, but he's willing to take care of me so that I can figure out what I want to do with my life, because he wants me to do something that brings me joy and makes me happy, because ultimately I am the pulse of this home, which means that if I am not happy, then the house isn't happy. But I didn't grow up seeing that. And I can't help but feel like a burden and feel like I'm not providing or taking care of my family if I'm not providing something financially. But See, like I can go back and forth with this all day. But here's another thing. I've been a stay-at-home mom now, so I've seen both sides of the coin. And being a stay-at-home mom is the hardest thing I've ever done. Kudos to all of the stay-at-home moms before me, who are with me, or who are going to come after me, because not only is it the hardest job, it is the most important job to be a mom in general. Whether you're a stay-at-home mom or a working mom, it's just so hard and so important at the same time. So why do I still feel like I'm not enough if I'm not working when this is a job? Raising my kids is a job. I've applied to so many places and I've received nothing except for one denial. And that is very rare for me. And I just can't help but thinking that this is, again, God reinforcing that I'm in the right place right now, which is staying at home, working on content and figuring it out. And I think that the biggest lesson that I've been having this last year in general has been to allow myself to be taken care of, because I've always been the one to take care of others. I think that once I'm able to completely surrender to being taken care of, to being in my feminine, as most people would say nowadays, I think that's when I'm going to see the fruit to my labor with content creation. I think, I don't know, that's kind of where I'm going right now. But it's hard because another thing is, like I told you, I've only seen people go to school and get a career if they're lucky in what they went to school for. And then on the other side, I've seen my parents work their asses off to pay the bills and not doing something that they enjoy. They just do it because of the money. So who am I to think that I can pursue something that brings me joy and then make money from it? This is an art. This is a form of self-expression, and I've never seen somebody be successful within my circle from self-expression. That's another big limited belief that I'm working through right now. Now, another thing is, okay, I have this belief that if I go to school, I can get a good job. So I'm gonna go to school. But the thing is that every time I go to school for something, I get bored. In my head, I'm like, okay, well, that means that it's not for you because you're not interested enough. But I've grown from that mindset and I've understood that you're not always going to like what you learn in school, and it's not always going to be related to what your career is. Sometimes you just have to take the class because you have to take the class. But now I'm in the mindset that everything that I would like to make a career out of is typically within art, within content creation, within content production, things like that. And I feel like you can do and learn all of that on your own with the resources that we have online. So I don't know that I want to go to school for something that I can learn how to do on my own with my own time. And I'm like, okay, well, if that's the case, then go to school for something that you can't specifically learn online on your own by yourself. And right now I'm really interested in AI, and I also feel like just AI is really prominent in our world right now, and I love using AI for a lot of different things. So I'm kind of curious where I can go with AI. I've also considered coding. I like anything technological, anything with data really entices me. So I'm kind of thinking of maybe, if I choose to go back to school, to look into that. But I don't know, because I feel like I have so many interests and I don't know if I should pursue any of them. And if I am pursuing them, is it coming from a good place, or is it coming from a place of validation? And sometimes seeking validation is okay, but I want to do it because I want to do it, not because I am looking for that validation. Does that make sense? So again, I am 29 years old and I have no job. I'm unemployed. I'm a stay-at-home mom who likes to make content, but is also afraid to make content because I don't know that this can turn into anything financially for me, because I have this limited belief that it won't, because I've never seen it be done before. And secondly, I don't want my husband to have to it's almost like he's working to support my dream. But I would do it for him. So if he's willing to do it, why not, right? So for now, I am going to be I'm trying to be more intentional about the jobs that I'm applying for. I don't want to just get another job that's just going to pay the bills like the one I had before this. I'm hoping that if I get another job, it's within a field, or I just want new skills. So I'm hoping to be able to gain new skills from wherever I end up going. And if it's not that, I hope that this is the video that you guys watch 5 years from now, and you're able to see my growth from this video to when my channel got monetized and started to financially support me and my family. Sounds crazy, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I think that's it. I think I've talked too much. Per usual, I'm going to leave you guys here with literally no conclusion, because I have literally no conclusion with this subject at all. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you got this far into the video, please make sure you give it a like. I will talk to you guys soon. I hope you're staying fearless, and I'll see you in the next one.